Hi y'all, this is House Guest and I am your host, Kenzie Elizabeth. Think a Gen Z wannabe Martha Stewart meets Dolly Parton trying to live in a Nancy Meyers movie in her 20s. We talk all about life, relationships, navigating your 20s, closing out the bars, or waking up at 5 a.m. depending on our vibe that week. Ultimately, living our best lives and figuring it out along the way. So come hang out. Sometimes I have guests on who do really cool things, some of my best friends, or it's just me and my house that I spend way too much time in. So let's get into the show. Hi, y'all. Welcome back to the House Guest Podcast YouTube channel. Before we get started with today's video, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if y'all like the episode, be sure to leave a like and a comment. Go ahead and comment right now where y'all are tuning in from. It just really helps our show grow. If y'all are ever interested in any merch links or live shows or emails or anything like that, that is all in our description below. Send this to a friend if y'all like the episode. If you're watching, tag us on social so we can see and repost you. I hope y'all enjoy today's video and let's get started. Hi y'all, welcome back to House Guest Podcast. I'm here with my cute little House Guest mug. No one reps this show, more than me, obviously. I've been drinking my iced coffee out of mugs lately, but it's really just because I think this mug is really cute. You would know that if you guys are watching us on YouTube. The quality, listen, I've heard the rave reviews. The quality is incredible. I am obsessed. It is just really doing something for the show. And I'm excited to be doing some little solo episodes at home with y'all as my house guests. I have a long list of things that we got to get to, okay? In today's episode, we're going to be talking about what to do when you want more out of life and how to train yourself to think big. I have really been chatty Kenzie. That was like a dad joke, but I've been chatty Kathy on TikTok lately and just, sharing these things, whatever's on my mind, okay? And I was talking about how the world is separated by two groups of people, big thinkers and small thinkers, okay? Big thinkers are people who make everyone's life or everyone's world around them bigger. Small thinkers are people that make you feel claustrophobic, make you feel depleted after you hang out with them, operate out of insecurity. We all go between big thinking and small thinking. So I did want to do a whole just kind of chat around that, chatty Kenzie these days, okay? My biggest fear in life, actually, as an Enneagram 3 myself, is failure. And to me, failure means settling, not living out my full potential of what I really want in life. I am so terrified of settling to a fault, to the point where there's definitely areas of my life, I don't need to spill out my guts right now, my God, but there's definitely areas of my life that could benefit if I maybe wasn't, actually, I'm not even going to say that because maybe one day I'll be like, thank God I was like that, okay? But I'm just so terrified of settling and I don't want you guys to do that either, okay? So this is what to do when you basically just want more from life and how to train yourself how to think big, because I think it all starts with your mindset and how you are thinking. So we're going to talk about big thinkers versus small thinkers, okay? I made a cute little T-chart here of what a big thinker does and what a small thinker does. We are all big thinkers some days, small thinkers the other. You kind of go between the two, okay? But a big thinker, like I said, makes everyone's world around them bigger. They're solution-minded. They don't take things personally. They mention your name in a room full of people if it could benefit you. They connect you with people. They're not super critical because they have their own life. They don't have time to even be critical of other people. They also just don't think that way. They have a better understanding of humanity, I feel like. Not always talking shit. The world is their oyster. Anything is possible. Leaves you feeling like you can take over the world. They celebrate others, okay? And themselves. A small thinker leaves you feeling depleted. They invented gatekeeping, okay? They operate out of insecurity. They're problem-oriented. They're victims. They operate from a scarcity mindset. They're insecure. Everything is a competition. They're hypercritical because they're not happy with themselves, so they're projecting. They have negative self-talk always, and again, they're talking negatively about other people because they have such bad negative self-talk. Small-minded leaves you feeling drained. This is the biggest one for me that actually bothers me the most. They're constantly undermining others and their success. They only got this because of this. They only did this because they know this person. They only did, and I'm not talking about a Nepo baby situation. I just mean no one has succeeded around them to where they haven't undermined that, if that makes any sense, versus just celebrating them, right? Because in their minds, like, that person is stealing from them instead of understanding that, like, rising tides lift all boats, okay? That's a big thinker. Small thinker is the opposite. So when they're operating out of a scarcity mindset, they think it's hurting them, versus a big thinker would understand, like, I always give this example when I'm podcasting because it's like top of mind, but like Call Her Daddy getting a $125 million deal with Sirius is amazing for the podcast industry as a whole. Like, not to make that, like, I think you should just be able to be happy for someone in general. But like when communicating with someone like that, I'm like, well, you have to think about it. Like, it actually is beneficial for you. So you have to train yourself to be a big thinker, because obviously it's a lot easier to be a small thinker, but it's actually really not. I think it's easier to be a big thinker, because a small thinker, like, you are miserable day to day. Like, that is not a good way to live life. You don't feel good about yourself. You don't feel good about people around you. You're like, it's so much fun to be happy in celebrating other people. You know what I mean? It obviously all stems from insecurity, which is a whole other topic. But I think the world is divided into two types of people: big thinkers and small thinkers. And we have to really like fight to be a big thinker, because I think in order to make sure you're not settling in life, I know in order to make sure you're not settling in life, you have to be a big thinker. To really do much in life, you have to be a big thinker. So people who are really successful, they are all big thinkers. And they are not talking, that's why when they always say, like, you will never be criticized by someone who's doing less than you, it's a small thinker, right? Like, a big thinker, they're not even thinking about you. Like, not in a self-centered way, but in a way that, like, they understand that that isn't even a good use of their energy or their time and their mindset. They're not likely to even think that way to begin with. So I did write down a list of things to do when you fear you are settling, and what you should do to do a little, not a life reset, but this is just for me personally. This episode is for the people who feel like life is just happening to them and they're not happening to life. You know what I mean? Like, they're not taking control of their own life. Like, their days are just going by. Days become weeks. Weeks become years. Years becomes your life, right? So this is how you take control, okay? Number one, take inventory. So make a list. This is something that should have been in my house guest glossary episode. If you guys haven't listened to that, go listen to it. But TK had us do this. We were probably 19 when we did this whole list. We were doing these cute little like morning devos, goal setting, like weekly things that we did as like, you know, cute little pure 19-year-olds. I actually wouldn't say we were pure. I wasn't pure at that time in my life, but you know what? You get what I'm trying to say, okay? We were just wholesome, wholehearted, naive girls, okay? We would meet for these like morning devotionals. And 1 week, she had us write down a list of things that refuel me and things that drain me. So throughout that week, we were both very mindful. When have you ever like actually taken inventory and account of your life like that? Never. I mean, I had never done it. I still like don't do it enough, but it really helped me be more aware of my life. And that sounds stupid because it's like, yeah, you're in your life, but you're not always like thinking about life. Like they always talk, like Lauren Bostic always talks about like thinking time, which I think is actually incredibly important. And that's why I think like silent walks got like such a bad rep online, because they're like, this is so stupid, but it's actually really not. Like most of the time when you go to walk, you're distracting yourself by your phone, listening to a podcast, listening to the music. You need time to just be able to like sit and think. It is important. So with this list, it really helps you to be very mindful of your day-to-day, okay? You are able to sit there and see things that you probably wouldn't even realize are draining you, and things that you wouldn't realize like actually refuel you. So it could be after you hang out with a person, after you do something specific in the morning, after you see someone random, you're working on something in work, you're doing, and like, listen, like I want to make it very clear, you are not going to be able to live in a la la land where you only get to do things that refuel you and make you happy in life. Like that is not reality, and that actually isn't even good for us. But I mean, these are things that we can really control. When you make that list, you are just able to see also things that you could just easily take out. I'm not talking about like in your work day to day, like, oh, I don't like doing taxes. Like, yeah, neither do I, okay? But the IRS is gonna be knocking on my door and I'm gonna be in prison, okay? So that's why that's not necessarily good. You have to do things you don't like. Like, I don't think doing like payroll stuff and like accounting for a friend of mine. Like I hate that stuff, but you have to do it. It's part of life, okay? So it's not talking about things that are like non-negotiables. It's talking about things in ways that you are spending your life. Once you are mindful, you will notice the ways. For example, I don't feel good if I sit in bed and I scroll my phone for an hour before bed. That leads me to think about work more and think about comparison and where I should be. And I'm not ending the day feeling good about myself, but I do end the day feeling good about myself when I read a book for an hour before bed. I get better sleep. I'm happier. I'm learning about other things. I'm in another world. It's a good break from the world. Like things like that is more so what I'm talking about. So take inventory of what is draining you versus giving you life, okay? Number 2, and this should probably be number 1, audit your relationships in every area. Obviously, friendship-wise, obviously, relationally, romantic, dating, we're like obviously in every single way. But I think a way that isn't talked about enough is auditing like your parasocial relationships. You do not need to be on Reddit on a gossip thread or a snark page about someone, adding to that every single day. That is not helping you get to where you need to be in life. That is not good for you. It's a mean thing to do. I don't even need to go into explain why you being an active participant of like a Reddit snark page is bad for you, but also just being a consumer. Like when you have a parasocial relationship and you have like hate follows, which is like a term if you don't know, or people follow people that they hate just to like talk shit about them or make fun of them or whatever. It's just another parasocial relationship that I personally wouldn't care to have, but also I would really think about that and audit that, because a parasocial relationship, while that person may not know anything about you, they actually live rent-free in your head. Like it's actually only hurting you if it's a negative experience. So I would be very mindful of that because that's like a really, really big thing in today's culture. Also, on the topic of auditing your relationships, they always say like, don't take advice from someone that you wouldn't want to be more like. And I think you also shouldn't be hanging out with them either. If you don't want to be more like them, it doesn't mean like I have friends and honestly, people that I look up to in different ways. Like there's certain people that I look up to how they lead. There's other people that I look up to that I think are an incredible friend. There's certain people I look up to in business. There's other people I look up to and like how they lead their family. There is like different kinds of people. It doesn't need to be like, there's not going to be one perfect person that you want to be. I'm not saying that. I'm saying like if there are not things about them that inspire you or make you want to be more like them, or if you want to be nothing like your friends, like they probably shouldn't be in your life. Like if you are wanting to not settle, you have to be so intentional with who you have in your life. And that's actually been a really difficult thing for me because I don't like change in relationships. And if you are my friend, I just want us to be friends forever. And that's just like kind of how it goes. But I've definitely had to learn that in order to get to like the next level in life, if you will, you can't take everyone with you. So auditing relationships, and it doesn't mean there needs to be like a blowout fight. They could go from being, a dinner party friend to a block party friend. That's like what, people say. There's a lot of different ways to handle that. I could do a whole episode on that, but a lot of it is changing expectation and also just putting them in a different place in your life and a different like proximity, Number 3, audit how you're spending your time. The obvious one in which that we all are wasting so much time is doom scrolling. Like that is very obvious, but I think we get this kind of mixed up where we focus so much on doing everything overnight of like, oh my God, I'm going to stop scrolling on my phone. I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. I'm not going to get my phone until 9 a.m. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do this. And we focus so much on like what we're not going to do, the things that we're going to take out, when I think that we should actually focus on things that we want to add to our lives that are giving us like filling our cup more versus focusing on taking something out. Because if you are just sitting here like, I'm going to stop scrolling on my phone for 3 hours a day, and then you stop scrolling on your phone for 3 hours a day, and then suddenly you're just like sitting staring at a wall, like that's not going to work. But if you replace it with something that you really like, you are less likely to even want to be scrolling on your phone. And then also that time is being used for what it needs to be used for, which is like filling your cup in some sort of capacity. So I would focus less on getting rid of the quote bad things in your life. I don't even like that term. The things that aren't like serving you. Now I sound like fucking, I don't know. But I would focus more on adding the things that you like into your life, which goes back to that list that I told you to do at the beginning of the episode of like auditing your time and like how things are making you feel. You're able to add certain things. Like for example, I really love like needlepoint. That's something that like really gets my mind off things. I'm like literally 85 years old, but that's something that I feel a lot better doing that for an hour than I do scrolling on my phone. I feel a lot better reading than I do scrolling on my phone. Now listen, I'm not like a 5 a.m. CEO who's like so crazy. I scroll on my phone. I'm 27. Like I love TikTok, obviously, but I just do it. I try to. There's obviously times that I am on my phone. My screen time is like disturbing. I just don't want that to be my whole life. Then I just get into this like crisis of like, oh my God, my whole life is wasting away and I'm freaking out because I'm on my phone. Like, what do I have to show for this? This is like such a dumb way to spend my time. Whatever. I like spiral. Anyways, I love to be on my phone. I love to be on TikTok. It is fun. But for me, it's not recharging. It's not refueling me, which goes back to it. It's very personal for everyone. Number 4, journal it out. Okay. If you're in a place where you feel like you are letting life happen to you and you're not, taking life by the horns, that's what, one thing about me, I'm going to say sayings like 15 times that are all wrong. Like not a single one of them was correct. But if you are sitting here saying, I really don't want life to just be happening to me. I want to take control of my life. I don't want to settle in life, but I just don't know what that means for me or where I want to be or what I want to be doing. You need to do morning pages, okay? This is like free therapy. Also, if therapy, obviously I'm such a fan of therapy. I think everyone in the world should try therapy at some point. If therapy is not accessible to you currently, I think the best thing you can do is morning pages. So you wake up every morning, you get your journal, and you write for 3 pages straight, pen to paper. Your pen does not leave that paper, okay? It is insane what this practice will do. It has made me realize, like, if something was bothering you one day, and I, like, have no idea why it was bothering you, I was a little bit irritable, whatever, I didn't think much of it. 4 days later, it'll come out on my morning pages of like, this bothered me because it triggered something from this situation and blah, blah, blah. And then I'm able to like realize where that was coming from, identify the emotion and like heal it at the root versus just trying to like fix things and like put a Band-Aid on them. I've gotten my best ideas from morning pages. I feel like I know myself so much more. It's very creative. It's just made me know myself on a much, much, much deeper level, which is in turn giving me a lot more like vision and clarity for what I want in life. That didn't happen immediately. It's obviously a practice that you should really commit to and continue to do it. But morning pages has been, in full transparency, I've been off of it pretty much all year. I've been, down in the dumps this year, but I have not really been doing it. And on the times that I do it like religiously, especially when I have had phases where I was very confused on what I wanted to do career-wise, my future, or if I wanted a relationship to continue or whatever it might be, morning pages has really been the cure. So if you don't know what you want to do, literally just pen to paper. There are times that I'm literally writing, like, I don't know what to say right now. I have nothing to journal about. I have nothing to say. I have nothing. And then sometimes I'll have like the best thought come out of my brain or something that was just really important and beneficial to me at that time in my life because I just kept writing. So anyways, morning pages are such an important practice. Number 5, it's really not always about dreaming big, but it's about thinking big. Because I think a lot of the time we will dream really big, but then we'll have small thinking still, and small thinking won't allow you to get to the big dream. So it's really about focusing on thinking really big, because then it's like basically creating a habit in your brain of consistently dreaming big and consistently thinking bigger, having better ideas, better thoughts, bigger dreams, whatever it might be. It's better because that's how you think. It's not like, oh, I'm just dreaming big and this is just kind of fun, because a small thinker would have like a big dream and say like, oh, that's not possible. Like I this won't happen. I can't do this. I can't do that, whatever. A big thinker, that's just kind of like that's how their brain is wired. So I would focus more on becoming a big thinker and catching yourself when you're thinking small than I would on making all these big dreams, if that makes any sense. Big dreams are important, but it comes from big thinking. Number 6, create systems. A goal is just a wish without a system. This is really important. Basically, you have to create an action plan to get you to your goal. That's basically what that is saying. Number 7, create daily routines. So a daily routine that you stay committed to, discipline over motivation. It's going to get you there slowly but surely, even if you're just moving the needle 1% every day. 1% every day adds up, okay? That becomes massive over a year. So creating a routine and staying consistent with it, that's also going to build confidence. As we always say, confidence is built by making promises to yourself and keeping them. I have so many episodes on how to create a routine and stuff as well. If you go on our Instagram, we have like roundups of routine episodes and all that stuff, but it is really important because also creating a routine, if you have that daily, like think about it, like your mornings become your days become your weeks become your years become your life, right? So everything really does start with a routine. Okay, next thing we have is, my required routine, guys. If you're very serious about not wanting life to happen to you and you taking control and figuring out how to basically do this, the 2 books that I'd recommend that I just recommended in our like glossary episode would be read 10x is greater than 2x and The Gap and the Gain. If you're not a reader, there are 2 episodes that I had that are still episodes where I read these books and I did like complete episodes on both of them. But those are really good listens and really good reads if you are trying to figure this out, especially because sometimes when you get so inspired and motivated and you have all these ideas and these dreams and I want to think big, I want to dream big, I want to like not settle, then we will end up getting really anxious because we start to get really hard on ourselves and expecting a lot all at once. The Gap and the Gain episode specifically is really good. If you like struggle with being like an overachiever, firstborn daughter, whatever it is, you're ever hard on yourself, that's a really good episode to listen to because it teaches you how to not be that way and how to think in a way that will be more beneficial to you, but also I think it's a healthier perspective. Again, identity capital. I'm just touching on these things. These are all in the glossary episode, but you need to be focused on building yourself versus finding yourself. If you haven't heard me talk about identity capital is basically just the things that make you you. The relationships that you have, the hobbies that you have, the interests that you have, the books that you read, the music that you listen to, the movies. Like you are creating your own life to be whatever you want it to be. So if you don't want to settle in life, like you need to be doing what you want to be doing. Settling in life is all relative. It doesn't mean that you're going to be like a Fortune 500 CEO necessarily. It means that you are going to live the life that like you are meant for and the life that you love, feels right to you, something that feels very fulfilling to you, which could be being a stay-at-home mom of 2 kids in like Pennsylvania or something. It could be being a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. It could be, you want to work your way up at this company. Like it doesn't matter what it is. It's very, very relative to you. Something that I didn't write that I think is really important. I'm actually reading this book right now called Necessary Endings. And like I said earlier, like not everyone can go with you to where you want to get to. You have to be good at like cutting dead ends and knowing when things are no longer, I hate the term like when things are no longer serving you, because I don't like the idea that everything in your life should be serving you. Like that's why I don't like that phrase. I think we live in a world that is so selfish and obsessed with only doing things that are quote good for you. But sometimes like I just think like we've lost like humanity and we've lost like community and showing up for people in that way. So I don't love the term serving you. So like listen to that loosely. If you just know it's not right for you in your life, also important to remember it's also not right for that person in their life then. I think sometimes we have a hard time leaving things. And I'm saying this now because you might be listening to this episode thinking like if I want to do this, I do need to maybe end this relationship, or I need to be around this friend less because they bring out the worst in me and therefore I probably bring out the worst in them. Like you need to remember that when you are ending something in life or you're just distancing, it's also probably the best thing for the other person as well. I think sometimes it's like, no, I can't do that because then like they can't lose me. Like God forbid, like I'm so, you know what I mean? Like we're so, like, I think we almost have like an enlarged ego and we're disguising it by thinking like, oh, I just like don't want to do that to them. Like they'll be so upset and they'll be hurt. And like what's actually worse is them being in a relationship or a friendship with someone who doesn't really fully want to be there and isn't really showing up in the way that they could be showing up. Like I think actually if we need to leave a situation, it's the best thing for both parties, and you have to like love that person enough or respect that person enough or respect that situation enough to be able to like make that decision. That doesn't mean you even need to, you don't have to have like a conversation of like this friendship is over. It's just like sometimes you have to put things in different areas of your life at different times. Like it doesn't mean it's forever. Again, I'm like just quoting all of the like Kenzie-isms of like hold everything with an open hand, But I think we just need to be open to like what life has to offer. And again, it goes back to the world is divided by two types of people, big thinkers and small thinkers. When you're a big thinker, it's easier for everything else that I shared on things to do in this episode for you to actually follow through and do those things. You just have to have the strength to leave things sometimes in order to like have the life that you want. And you have to remember that it's not just what's best for you. It is probably what's best for the other party, whoever that might be. But in order to make sure you're not settling in life, that is like probably the first thing I do is really audit like relationships. Even as I've gotten older and I'm like, I want to make sure I'm not settling in life. Like for me, I can't continue to live the same life that I was living at 24 3 years ago. Like I don't want to be doing all the things that I was doing at 24 at 27. And your friendships change because you're not doing the same thing that you were doing at 24. And maybe they don't feel that way and that's what they want to do, which is fine. Like there's not a good or a bad or a right or a wrong answer to that. It's just a difference in like what you want and like the different priorities that you have in your life. That is just naturally going to happen. So you kind of have to be prepared. But I will say on the other side, I've had so many other people come into my life that make a lot more sense for me in this time of my life. And like we have a lot more in common and have actually been like key players and like way better relationships for me at that time. And I'm sure those friends probably feel the same way because it's opened up space in their life for them to have friends that more so align with them in that period of their time, if that makes any sense. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed our little small thinking versus big thinking and how to make sure you're not settling in life. I also heard someone say the other day, and this is just in terms of a relationship. Actually, by I heard someone say something, I mean like I saw a TikTok, but it was like if you were in a room with like 5 of like your dream people, would you still stay with your partner? And I think that's just very telling because if it's like the right person, obviously you would really stay with them. And I think we get to like think about that in life. Like if this was a reality, would I still live this life? But the thing is, like, things are a reality once you make it a reality, you know? Like, you can always do that. And if there's anything in you that's like, I don't like where I am and I do feel like I'm settling, I think you've got to cut your losses now. Like, the more you stay in that situation, the longer you stay, the more painful it's going to be for every single person involved, including yourself, and the harder it's going to be to get out of it. So you need to have the courage for yourself. This is like something that I've tricked myself into because I found that sometimes like I won't do something for myself, but I'll do something for like my future daughter, right? Like I'll think about like, well, if I don't do this and I go down this path, that isn't like ideal for like I'm very extreme in this way, but it makes it easier. Like once I had my niece and I was thinking in terms of like making a child proud or like a child is now looking up to you, like it's really changed like how I approach life a lot. So I just think from the perspective of like, would this be like something that I'd be proud to tell my daughter? Or, you know, yeah, it would be hard, but it would be harder to switch it when I have kids and it would be a more difficult situation. So sometimes like if you have to do it, like if you, which if I'm not strong enough to do something for myself, which like I would like to say that I'm strong enough or love myself enough to like where I'm always doing situations because it's like I honor and love and respect myself. Sometimes I don't enough and I'm just too tired and it will be for other people. So like if you have to like trick yourself into doing it for someone else for a little bit until you start to do it, like scary decisions are really only scary when you make them. And then once you do it, you're in like your new reality and your new world. It might be scary for a little bit. In the long run, you'll be so glad that you did it. Think about yourself 10 years from now and think, if I stay in where I'm at right now, like 10 years from now, and I don't make this change, like where will I be versus if I do make this change? You have to be thinking like long term and from a place of like gratitude from your future self as well, or even like making your younger self proud. I'm just like kind of like at this point like spitballing. I have a lot of like random thoughts that I have. But life is short. Life is long, but life is also very short. And it is not worth it to be in a situation that is just not where you want to be. And if you feel like there's so much more out there, like I feel like there's just nothing worse than like apathy and just kind of like going through the motions of life, when there's so much out there, especially like if you guys are interested in a specific career path, if you're listening to this and you're like, I really want to do this, like we have never had more access to people or things in our lives. When it comes to like podcasting, especially in books, there is a podcast or a book about literally everything. If you want to be an astronaut, if you want to go work at this specific company with something, like there is a podcast and there is a book, there is something for everything. Like 50 years ago, they didn't have that. Like right now, you're probably in the best place to actually be able to achieve those goals. Also, you're only getting older. And as you get older, there's more and more responsibility of your life. And you're never too old. It's never too late to do anything ever. We talk about that a ton on this podcast. But also, it is easier and it's better to start now. It doesn't matter what age you are. Even if you're listening to this and you're 58, it doesn't matter. As you go on, there will only be like more and more responsibility, or you'll get more stuck in your ways. You know what I mean? So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. And I hope you're leaving feeling better. I hope you have motivation from this to make some changes. Please DM me what you guys thought of this episode. I love hearing stories and like the ways that it's like impacted you or decisions that you've made and whatever. When I was making, anytime I've made like really major decisions, it's been from listening to podcasts and books and like talking to my dad. Okay. So I love y'all. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, and I will see you next Thursday.